Let's talk about cannabis. There was a guest who was notoriously bearish. Now, a little pivot, more bullish on cannabis. Let's hear more about this. Alan Brochstein's with us, managing partner, New Cannabis Ventures and principal 420 investor. So, feeling a little better about the group. I know a lot of people have been waiting for a long time for this group and have had some frustration. What say you? Is something changing? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I feel like I'm all alone on this. I feel like the bulls that were hating me for being so cautious, they're gone. And I think things are really improving. And I've always been worried about cannabis stocks being too high, no pun intended. But that happened after Colorado legalized in 2014. It happened when Canada went full adult use in 2019. And then again, it happened at the end of 2020 when the Democrats swept everything and cannabis was going to legalize yesterday, except no, it wasn't. So we do have something very important right now, and that is cannabis is being rescheduled. And I talked to a lot of people about this, and it's not really clear to the average investor how meaningful this could be. But I've been talking about this in writing at New Cannabis Ventures since the end of 2022, when President Biden was talking about the pardons and moving forward. And I pointed out there were two big things that one or both of them needed to change, and one of them was 280E. The other one still remains, and that is for NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange to let American cannabis companies list there. No change on that. But I want to make sure the audience understands this has been a very drawn out process, this rescheduling thing. And I've been very cautious. And I still say it's not a done deal. 11 years of being focused on this market, I know better than to trust the government to fix things. But 280E goes back to when I was an old child, a young adult. When Ronald Reagan was president, they put this into law. And 280E, and I think your audience will understand this, instead of taxing their profits, they tax their gross profits. If you are a grower, processor, or seller of cannabis, you pay tax on your gross profit, not your net profit. So that has been a big, big problem for this cash-tight industry. And now we are literally, it could happen tomorrow. We don't know when it's going to happen, but the DEA said on April 30th that yes, it was going to do what the Department of Health and Human Services suggested and change cannabis from Schedule 1, which makes no sense, to Schedule 3, which will wipe this tax out.
Yeah. Schedule 1 really is more like heroin and crack and things like that, and that's why a lot of people were really pushing for it to move to a Schedule 3. I understand that, and while there seemed to be some unification in that move, they needed to still go out and get the support that was needed to move it to that level. The taxation, to your point, on gross can be very costly, right? Because then you're still paying taxes. It's like taxes upon taxes, like so much of the taxes
there are companies
that we do
have
anyway.
Losses but have big tax bills.
Yeah.
And even if they have profits,
so
their profits are less than their taxes.
I don't know what the timing is. As you said, you've had to be extremely patient, and I know people in the group are pretty frustrated. As far as listing on an NYSE or NASDAQ exchange, not happening anytime soon until you get federal approval, because these are not approved federally, right? I mean, you're not going to get banks involved and stuff. And what was it called? The SAFE Act, or I forget what it was called, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think SAFE or banks are going to even happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not happening anytime soon. It's like a Canada thing. But there are companies that are invested in it, but they have to deal all with the Canada exchange. So that being said, a lot of folks that I have on pick one group of cannabis over the other when you talk about U.S. cannabis versus cannabis in Canada, or they pick an ETF or a way to at least try to grow with the group when it's time. What do you suggest people do who believe in cannabis, think it has a lot of value, think there's value in the stocks and such? How would you tell them to go about that?
So that's what I do at 420 Investor, and I've been doing this long enough to understand that everybody is different. And for some people, an ETF can make sense. I've been very negative on the largest ETF, and I don't think the people that run it are doing a good job at all. And I would highly recommend that people, if they want to buy that ETF, to just pick their top 5 holdings, if that's what you want to do, and you can save the fee and get the same performance because they have over 82% in those 5 names. But the other thing I've told people over the past 11 years of running 420 Investor is don't just pick one part of the market. That ETF is focused on MSOs, multi-state operators. These are the companies that grow and sell cannabis in the United States. There are 2 other large areas, and one of them is ancillary companies. Those are the companies that provide goods or services to the cannabis companies. And the other one that you mentioned yourself is the Canadian LPs. And I go out of my way to warn people that as much as I like cannabis right now, I do not like Tilray, I do not like Canopy Growth. And even in the United States, there are some companies that I think you should be careful with.
Yeah, understood. As I think about the group overall as well, do you think that more people are using cannabis and tobacco? I mean, sometimes they go together or maybe they don't. The usage going forward, like EVs were hot and then sort of not. I mean, people are still buying EVs, but not at the same rate.
Right.
What about cannabis?
So I think cannabis is in a different world. There's no illegal EV market that was out there. The status quo is very large for cannabis, and it's all about moving that illicit market to a legal market. And the way it's done is it's difficult because we don't have a national approach. If you're a big company operating in 10 states, you have 10 laws and regulators you have to deal with. And so I think the real question is, can we make progress on moving people from the illicit market to the legal market? And I think the answer is yes.
I think we're going to have to leave it right there. Thank you so much, Alan Brochstein.